Islam claims Jerusalem never belonged to the Jews, that it was always Islamic, that Israel has no historical right to the land. But here's the truth. The stones beneath our feet say otherwise. Archaeologists have uncovered royal seals, temple ruins, inscriptions bearing the name of Israel's God, all buried deep in the soil of Jerusalem, and all dating over 1,000 years before Muhammad was even born. And while Muslims call Jerusalem holy, the Quran doesn't even mention it. Not once. So the question is simple. If history matters and truth is what you seek, then let the evidence speak. Muslims today call Jerusalem the third holiest city in Islam. They speak of Al-Aqsa with reverence, claim Muhammad's night journey took him there, and even tie the land to end times prophecy. But here's the shocking reality. The Quran never mentions Jerusalem, not once, not by name, not even indirectly. The so-called Al-Aqsa Mosque mentioned in Quran 17:1 is incredibly vague. Glory be to him who took his servant by night from the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque. No city is named, no location is identified. The verse says nothing about Jerusalem. In fact, when this verse was written, there wasn't even a mosque in Jerusalem. The Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa weren't built until decades after Muhammad's death. So where does this deep Islamic connection to Jerusalem come from? Politics, not revelation. The Umayyad Caliphate, based in Damascus, needed a rival to Mecca, which was controlled by political enemies. So they invented a backstory, claiming Muhammad's night journey ended in Jerusalem, and began building Islamic sites there to assert control. It was never about divine truth. It was about power. So if the Quran doesn't even name the city Jews have called holy for 3,000 years, how can it claim to be a book of truth? Just south of the Temple Mount lies one of the most explosive archaeological sites in the world, the City of David. And what they've found beneath the soil destroys the Islamic claim that Jews have no ancient connection to Jerusalem. Excavations in this area have uncovered fortifications, royal structures, and inscriptions dating to the time of King David and Solomon. Among the key finds are massive public buildings consistent with a royal complex, clay seal impressions bearing names of officials mentioned in the Bible, including those tied to the Kingdom of Judah, and a tunnel system matching the biblical account of Hezekiah's water tunnel. These are not stories. These are stone-solid facts, carved and stamped long before Islam ever existed. While the Quran is silent about Jerusalem, the ground itself cries out with Jewish history. Kings lived here. Worship was centered here. And no amount of modern denial can bury that truth. Before there was Islam, there was Israel, and Jerusalem was its heart. For centuries, Jews have prayed facing the Temple Mount, the very place where the Bible says Solomon built the first temple, and where the second temple stood until 70 AD. Muslims now claim it was always Islamic, but archaeology tells another story, one carved into the very stones of Jerusalem. In the debris from unauthorized construction on the Temple Mount in the late 1990s, researchers recovered over 10,000 ancient artifacts, including temple-period tiles, Jewish ritual objects, and inscriptions bearing the Hebrew name of God. They also found stones consistent with Herodian construction, the same building style used in the Second Temple period under Herod the Great, and coins dating from the Hasmonean and Herodian periods, long before Islam was ever born. And in the Western Wall, the last standing retaining wall of the Second Temple complex, you can still see the stones laid over 2,000 years ago by Jewish hands. This isn't myth. This is measurable. You can walk up and touch it. If Islam claims Jews were never here, then the rocks themselves are lying. But they're not. They're speaking the truth. Jerusalem was Jewish, the temple was real, and the evidence is set in stone. Long before Islam existed, before Muhammad was born, The God of Israel had a name, not generic, not vague. Yod-He-Wav-He. The Tetragrammaton, engraved in stone, painted on pottery, written in scrolls. Archaeologists have found over 100 inscriptions of the name dating from 800 to 600 BC, scattered across Israel and Judah. Some of the most striking include inscriptions where of Samaria and of Teman are mentioned alongside prayers and blessings, letters written in Paleo-Hebrew script addressed to officials loyal to during the Babylonian siege, and silver scroll amulets bearing the priestly blessing from the Book of Numbers and the name. These artifacts predate both Christianity and Islam, yet clearly show the unique personal name of the God of Israel, the God who revealed himself to Moses in the burning bush. Modern Islamic narratives often claim the Jews were never in Jerusalem, the temple never existed, the history was fabricated later. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That narrative is a modern invention, not Islamic tradition, and certainly not supported by archaeology. Even early Muslim historians like al-Tabari and al-Muqaddasi acknowledged that the Jews had deep ties to Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. It wasn't controversial until politics made it so. In recent decades, leaders and activists have tried to rewrite history, not with evidence, but with propaganda. Meanwhile, the ground keeps giving up the truth. So when someone says the Jews were never there, they're not fighting a political battle. They're fighting reality itself. The Quran never names Jerusalem. The Islamic tradition borrows the city for political gain, and modern Islamic claims crumble when confronted with evidence. But the Bible places Jerusalem at the very center of God's story, named, described, honored, and the stones beneath our feet confirm it all. The city of David was real. The temple stood. It was worshipped there. And long before Islam ever uttered the name Jerusalem, the God of Israel had written his name in stone. Like, comment and share this video to bring real history into the light. And if you want to know the true story of Jerusalem, start with the Bible. It hasn't changed in 3,000 years.